Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our inaugural Smart Summit. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the Turrbal and Jagara peoples, the traditional owners of the land on which this event is taking place, and their elders, both past, present, and emerging. My name's Nathan James. I'm the Director of Smart Management Systems, and I'd like to welcome everybody. And it's been an incredibly tough couple of years with COVID. I know that a lot of the flight training industry has suffered, and we certainly haven't been free from that ourselves. We've got a number of new schools that are starting to pop up around the Oceania region, which is fantastic, but unfortunately we've lost far more than we've gained. We appreciate that everybody has continued to remain supportive of us during this time, and we want to give our commitment going forward that we continue to support all of the flight training and charter sectors of aviation throughout Oceania, and we continue to grow stronger every week. I think it's going to be a very, very exciting afternoon today as the team are introduced and take you through their individual departments and take you through the platform that is Smart version 3 and all of the functions and features that you've got to look forward to in the near future. I'd like to begin by just giving a little bit of background on all of the team that are behind Smart. I'll start with myself. My background is 21 years of general aviation in Australia. I've got Australian and American ATPLs and instructor ratings, and I have spent all of that time building, managing flight training schools in Australia, and I also spent a couple of years at CASA as a flight training examiner. Version 1 of Flight School Manager was released in 2012, so that product is now 10 years old. The product that we're showcasing today is literally 2 years of tireless work by the team of people that you see before you. And that's something that I think is incredibly important to remember. The fact that this literally is a product that has only been in the wild, out with the industry for just over a year now, and is a total of 2 years in the making. And so the application that we now boast, which we believe is already industry leading, is still really in its infancy and is only going to continue to grow bigger and more capable with every release. I'd like to now go around the table and just introduce all of the Smart team for you so that you can put some faces to names. I'm sure that many people have communicated with the various members of the team through our support channels, but I'll now let them introduce themselves and give you a bit of a background on what they actually do inside of Smart. So we'll start with Russell.
Hi everybody, my name's Russell Exley. I'm Solution Architect for Smart Systems. My background is not in aviation but in software development. My job at Smart is to oversee large implementations, also do integrations between the Smart system and other applications, and also work very closely with the development team during their development cycles and release cycles to make sure that what we're doing and we're getting it to market as quickly as we can. And I've been working with the team for the last 2 years pretty solidly, getting what you will see, which is the new system, you'll see it out. So, Michaela.
Yep. Hi, I'm Michaela. So I do the support and migration for coming across from our old FSM to our new Smart system. So I predominantly just deal with helping you guys with the training and making sure that you really understand the program and answering any questions that you have. I've been with the company, I started at the end of last year, so yeah, it's been good.
I'm Andrew Wallen-Brown. I'm only new to the team, having just finished up with the Queensland Police Service and the Premier's Department of Queensland. I'm 30 years into aviation, and I've done various things from being a chief flying instructor, a testing officer, through to 15 years in CASA as an aviation safety advisor, and then a few other roles within aviation and also in compliance. I said, just new to the job. It's great.
Hi everyone. I'm Stefan. I'm the Kiwi on the team, so from across the ditch. I came from a flight school background. I worked for Airhawks Bay for 12 years as a flight instructor and course supervisor. I was a previous user myself of Smart version 2 for a long time, and now I'm happy to join the team in the next stage of my career and kind of try and deliver all the features that I would have wanted as a flight instructor. So yeah. Sam?
Yeah, I'm Sam Webster. I'm the lead developer here on version 3. My background as well, I came from a flight training environment, so actually trained under Nathan and was the head of ground school for a flight school on the Gold Coast for just over a year. And I'm just trying to make the best system that we can for everybody out there and make the data work for you. Ben?
I'm Ben Childs. I have probably the least aviation background in the room, but I am an RPC holder and have come into software development pretty recently, but I am also the cloud architect for the company, and so I manage all the servers and infrastructure that runs the system that you see before you. I have around about 15 years in web hosting and server management, so it's very much old hat for me.
And the only member of the team who isn't actually present at the table today is Mike Ruby, who is actually co-founder of the company and was the lead developer on Smart FSM version 2 and 1, so right from day one in 2012. And Mike Ruby's got an extensive career in software development, and he is proficient in programming both .NET C# and now in PHP development as well. So Mike, having been with us from the very beginning, has been an integral part of the team in leading the company forward into Smart version 3 that you see today.
Great. Okay, well I think we're ready to kick things off then. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out, Ben's going to walk us through once we get feedback from you, or if an issue pops up in the system, how do we manage that? How do we deal with it from that point right through to releasing it into the system and putting it out as a new feature? So over to you, Ben.
So you've probably seen my name pop up from time to time if you've used our support system, or even sent an email just with a general query about the system. Essentially, we built this support system that is in the application to handle these queries and technical issues that may arise from time to time. And that allows us to better manage the feedback that we do get, because it's our own in-house system rather than using a third-party application. We can customise it to work better for our process, which allows us to deliver a better product. So once the feedback comes through our support system, it gets entered and tracked into GitHub, which is something that you may have seen in your travels across the internet, and that's what you see on the screen there at the moment. GitHub is a development tool that is owned by Microsoft, and so it's got a lot of experience behind it, and that's why most software development companies will rely on GitHub to track their continuous improvement and development. So when things do come in through support tickets, we enter them into GitHub, as I said, and they get tracked in different means. So we've got tags that allow us to prioritise, evaluate, and assign a value to anything that might actually be put into our development pipeline. And that gets tracked all the way from the point where we enter it right through to the point where it has been developed or worked on and closed off, so that we can release it into the product that you see in front of you. We are continually evaluating where things sit in our priorities and what their values might be. They get updated every day. We look at this as a team, we assign things into our workflow and update them on a daily basis. So that ends up being what you see on the screen in front of you when you're in your schools and operation environments using the product.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Hope that sort of lifts a bit of the veil between, how we manage all of that stuff. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, of course, to make the magic happen. And we're very meticulous about tracking every point of feedback. We make a real point of that, so that nothing gets lost and nothing falls through the cracks. Okay, so I'm going to just give a bit of an update on the platform overall, some things that we've been working on over the last few months that some of you may have seen, and a bit of a look into the future of where things are going over the next few months. So I'm just going to get things underway here. All right. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to do was just give a bit of an update of the platform itself, a bit of an overview of what Smart actually is. So we're an all-in-one platform. We integrate many, many different aspects of the sorts of tools and systems that will be required to manage your flight operations. So that's things like safety management, learning management systems for your training records, resource management, and it goes on and on and on. Compliance is a big part of what our system does. We're very heavily focused on compliance. It's the number one thing. We're always making sure that anything that we build is following the legislation and the regulations behind it. It's something we pride ourselves on, and it's something that has come to be expected of the platform. We focus a lot on productivity. We obviously want to build tools that enable you and your organisation to be as productive as possible. Things like making the platform as all-in-one as we can help to do that, reducing the need to rely on 5 different systems and make them talk to each other. If we can build it all into one platform, that should translate to increased productivity. Going along with that is efficiency, so making sure that the tools, the systems are as easy to use as possible, that they're not overly arduous and complicated, but they're simple, which allow you to get flights out the door quicker, return them quicker, process training records fast, all of those things. Leading into that is optimization. So what we mean by that is we collect a lot of data. All of that flight data that you put in and all of that information that goes into the system, we want to be able to report back on that to you, so you can make determinations about how your fleet might be optimized or how you might be able to optimize it more, and things like that. And lastly is secure. It's important that the data that you're putting into the system is securely hosted, securely backed up, and we pride ourselves on the infrastructure with version 3. It's best in class. So now I just wanted to go into a bit of an update about the platform overall and cover some key milestones and some key updates that we've been working on over the last few months. The first thing is the scheduler. And this is really the backbone of the entire system. It's the heartbeat of the system, and it's the area where most people spend most of their time. When we analyse traffic and information flow across the system, this is the screen that's almost always open somewhere in an organisation nearly all the time. And what we decided towards the end of last year is that it's a common trend that software companies might use other third-party tools to help build up their product, and that's okay. And we even looked at that for a long time about using third-party scheduling systems as a backbone for our scheduler. But we just kept finding, and Stefan and I had many conversations around it and realised that we just weren't going to be able to make the kind of scheduler we wanted to make doing it like that, and we knew that we had to make it from scratch. So that's exactly what we did. We went down to bare bones and built a brand new scheduler all the way from the ground up, which some of you may have already started to look at and play with. So the beauty of this is it's been tailor-made for aviation. It's a stripped-back, lean machine that's designed to do one thing, and that's work for what we need it to do. So that means it's a lot faster, it's a lot more performant, and if we want to make additions and changes and tweaks, we're not hamstrung by some other kind of system, which enables us to integrate your feedback much faster and iterate and continually improve the scheduler at a much higher throughput than if we used an external system. So that scheduler that you can see on your screen there, that's just a bit of an overview of what it might look like. So that's a standard computer monitor, the kind of monitor you'd have in an office, and that's 2 days of viewing there from pretty much sun up to sun down. So that's a lot of information on the screen. We know a lot of you wanted to be able to see a lot at once, and we've done our very best to condense that as much as possible. it's just another look at the screen there. You can see the editing panel on the side. And the beauty of that is that you can look at all your bookings and still navigate around your scheduler while editing. You're not sort of stuck doing one or the other. So enables you to take a lot in and process a lot at once and not be stuck on any one screen. The next part of that update is rostering. So we knew that scheduling and rostering almost go hand in hand. They're almost the same thing, because if you're going to be scheduling flights, you probably need to have your instructors rostered on for a duty period behind that. So it's quite common that you'll want to flip-flop between scheduling and rostering, and we knew that rostering needed to be very much a visual process and something that was done by clicking and dragging out on the screen rather than having to fill out complicated forms. So that's what we did. We integrated rostering holistically with the scheduler, and at the top of the screen there's a little toggle where you can flip between schedule and roster, or you can even press the R key on your keyboard and it'll just flip between those two. So it makes it really easy if you're trying to make a booking and you go, I don't have a duty period underneath that instructor. You can flip across, click, add it in, and within a few seconds you've got it underneath and it's all good to go. Plus we built the bulk rostering tool as well to make it much faster to very quickly map out and plan out the rostering for your organisation. So we're pretty happy with that. And there's still a lot more to go on that. We'll talk about that in a moment, but that's where it's at now. We hope to have this rolled out and out of beta very soon. Some other things that we've been working on lately is the aircraft maintenance system. So we now have full CASA maintenance releases, so part 1, 2, and 3. And the ultimate goal there is to slowly move towards an e-maintenance release system. So everything that you see on the wax paper, you can now enter into Smart. You can ground your aircraft through the system. There's a whole lot in there. It's pretty much one for one what you see on the wax paper. The task system is continuing to grow. That was something that initially we didn't know that there'd be a whole lot of uptake for it, but we're finding that people are loving it, and there's heaps of usage there. Every time we look at it, organisations continue to use that. So we've continued to add more and more to that. And no doubt we'll continue to expand it as well. The next is the finance system. This is a very big change from version 2 if you use that system. In version 3, we wanted to provide a really good integration with platforms like Xero and MYOB. And in order to do that and facilitate that, we needed to have a very strong financial backbone in version 3 itself. And as we started to build it and develop it, we realized that we almost needed our own finance package. And that's basically what we did. We built our own finance system into version 3, and it's standalone. So for smaller organizations who might not need something like Xero or MYOB, you can actually get the vast majority of your needs out of the built-in finance system now. But of course, it's fully designed to be compatible with Xero. The next thing is the exam system. This is a bit of a pet project for me. It's something I'm quite passionate about with my background in ground school. We wanted to make sure the exam system in version 3 was something that was not just about assessment, but also about teaching and educating, and allowed ground schools and organisations to better facilitate things like practice exams and work in that context, not just as a final assessment tool. So we've worked really hard to integrate a lot of features that will make it a lot easier for ground schools to do their sort of practice exams when they're gearing up to send their students away for their actual final CASA exams. So as far as the scheduler, we know this is a big ticket item and we get a lot of feedback about the scheduler. So we just wanted to try and share some of the things on the roadmap that are coming up for the scheduler. One of the first things is multi-resource people. So that's where you might often have, say, an instructor who's also in the system as a student resource, or you might have your instructor resources split up by junior instructors and senior instructors or something of that nature. And we know that it's annoying some people where you might be booked in, say, as a junior instructor, but it's not showing that you're booked up under your senior instructor line. So it's leading to complications of double booking and not being sure, is that person already booked or not? So we will be adding in very soon the ability to see if you're booked across multiple resources, it'll show up as such so that you won't have that problem of double booking. The next is group bookings, particularly helpful, of course, when you're scheduling things like mass briefings or you're doing organisation meetings and things of that nature, where you might need to book a group or a student intake all in one, so that'll be coming soon. Next is the flight and event status. At the moment, it's a bit tricky. You've got to sort of hover over or you've got to click onto things to try and see, well, has that flight been dispatched? Has it been returned? Is the event been completed? Is it in progress? So we'll be bringing back more of those sort of colours and icons at a glance. So when you're just looking at the scheduler, you'll be able to see, is that flight been dispatched? Is it returned? Is it overdue? What's the status? Where's it at? Without actually having to try and dive into it and see what's going on. Linked event dragging has been heavily requested, so that's where you typically have a lesson with, say, a pre-flight and a debrief. You drag the flight, but the pre-flight and the debrief stay as they are. Sometimes that's required, you know, if you're doing the flight in the morning but you're not going to be able to do the debrief to the afternoon, you do need to decouple them. But more often than not, you want to drag them as a whole. So we'll be bringing in the option to toggle on and off that linked dragging. So if you drag one, it drags everything associated. That'll make life a lot easier when you're trying to reschedule. Default waypoints as well have been asked a lot. So as part of the sites system that's built into version 3, we'll be expanding that much more into the scheduler and integrating it a lot deeper into the system, and that will facilitate the default waypoint selection. So you won't have to keep selecting it every time you're making a booking or filing the dispatch. And then the next one is to delete lesson events. So again, it could be quite common. Let's say you want to do the pre-flight briefing the day before and you're going to do the sortie the next day. And so you want to decouple those and just book either the flight briefing or just book the pre-flight briefing separate from each other. So we'll be bringing that across so you can sort of cherry pick which of the events off the lesson you actually want to book. The next enhancements that we have planned around the LMS, we know that some of these have been heavily requested, and the first is carrying competencies forward. So there's a couple of situations there. Let's say the student didn't quite make the cut on a particular lesson. At the moment, when you go to the next lesson, there's no way to see, well, what did they not achieve on the previous lesson? So it's been heavily requested from version 2, and we'll be bringing that in. So it always brings forward those competencies that the student has not yet achieved. And going along with that will also be the ability at the end of a lesson to add in competencies on demand. So you might say have a stalling flight scheduled and you go up and you know, as things often go, you realise, we might be able to get these stalls in, but let's do some steep turns or let's do some practice force landings or something like that. And then you get back, you go to fill out the training record and you want to add in some steep turns competencies, but you can't at the moment. So we'll be bringing that ability in to add in on-demand competencies at the end to suit what actually was flown. The next thing is downloading all the training records. So at the moment you have to go through lesson by lesson by lesson, and we know that that can be a bit arduous if you're trying to package up students' information either for a transfer or to prepare for granting of a license. So we'll be bringing in a ability to batch aggregate all of the students' basically, what do they call it, like their transcript, all of their training records, all of their information, and bring it down into one package, one single file in one click. So that'll save a lot of time having to sort of hunt around and pick out all that information. And then the next thing is to separate units from courses. So that was something used a lot in version 2, and we've had a lot of requests for that in version 3. I guess the common case there would be you've got something like a multi-engine instrument rating course, but you've got a retractable undercarriage unit, and you might just want to train that unit if someone comes in for a retractable endorsement. At the moment, it's a bit tricky to do that, so we'll be making it so that you can just train the unit on its own and deliver the qualification and not have to do the whole course. Some other things that we have planned, agenda view. This is a bit like the dashboard, but the idea here is that it provides a what's on today. So if an instructor or a student logs in, they can see, okay, these are the flights, these are the lessons that I have on, these are the training records I need to fill out, things like that. There's, you know, an expiry coming up in the next few days. It's a bit like a personal view of what you have to do on the system that day, and it'll be tailored to your role within an organisation. So what an administrator sees to an instructor to a student, of course, will all vary. Cards. So we already have a very strong licensing and medical system, but going along with that is often the requirement to track things like an ASIC or perhaps something like a blue card or those other types of pieces of plastic that we all need to do our various jobs. We'll be making that more holistic, so you won't have to add them in as custom expirations. It'll work as pretty much like how your licenses work. You'll be able to add an ASIC card and then attach your expiries and any attachments to that. MYOB integration will be coming along soon. Sidebar favourites, so we know there's a big list of things in the sidebar. There's all these areas of the system, which if you're an administrator in particular can be quite overwhelming because there's a lot there. So we will be adding the ability to pin favourites off that sidebar to the top of the list so that you can have your custom list for you for the areas you like to visit the most. Attendance tracking, so that ability for RTOs in particular to be able to see the attendance of their students, which is often a requirement, particularly with funding. And continuing to expand on the reporting and exporting options of the system. So we know that a lot of people want a special report to suit their organisation, and we'll continue to build the reporting system as customisable as possible. And the hope there in the future is you'll be able to choose the kind of custom columns and sums and calculations that you want and save those as custom reports for you. So they're tailor-made to your specific needs and your specific requirements. And then we can't always make every single report that could possibly exist. There'd just be too many combinations. So to go along with that will be more advanced exporting to CSVs and Excel and formats like that. So if you have to take them into another system and perform calculations and checks and balances, you can do that. So we've got 400 plus planned enhancements in the system at the moment, and you can see there on the screen there's a lot, and I'm not going to read them all off to you because we'd be here for a long time, but the point that I'm trying to make is that we have tracked all of your feedback, we continue to track it, and we've got so many things that we want to add to the system, and so many of them which are really exciting for us and we think will really take the platform to the next level. You can see some of the things in there that I've already mentioned, but there's a whole lot more in there. Hard copies for dispatching, recognition of prior learning, guest bookings and pending bookings. We know that aero clubs and more casual organisations need that kind of feature. A waypoint database, so you don't have to go hunting down all the waypoints yourself. And so much more. Custom sorting for your resources on the scheduler, for example. So there's a whole lot there, but I guess there's really one major thing that we're getting really excited about today, and I'm going to hand over to Stefan to talk about this.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, I think. So grab that for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm personally really excited about this. I think this is something I've wanted to build personally for a decade, and right now we just feel like we've come to the time where it's well time, and that will be the smart mobile application dedicated for iOS and Android devices. Why do we want to go down the app road? Well, for starters, it's time to be brave. No other flight school management software out there at the moment builds a dedicated application for their software. There are companies out there that are building web apps, which generally require you to be online. They're missing it. They can't leverage some of the device features that you can leverage if you build an app native to the device. Everyone has a smartphone. I mean, it's become a commodity. Back when Apple first released the iPhone, people were thinking, is this thing needed? But we've all got one now. We all rely on it for our maps. I mean, who carries a paper map around in the car anymore, right? It's something we always have on us. It gives us immediate information, and we're going to do the best with that we can. I was a flight instructor and a course coordinator for 12 years, as I said. I always thought how much easier life could have been if I just had the things I needed to do right there in my hand at that moment. We all know that flight instruction, especially in any job in aviation, is generally incredibly time consuming and busy. We're always on the run, and so the idea of this app is to enable people to do their work more efficiently from anywhere on the run. Just to clarify what this app is not, it's not just going to be an app version of the website. It's going to be purpose-built with purpose-built features to enable people to do what they need to do mobile. And no, also this presentation is not the actual app design either. We've got some mock-ups in here. We're in the very early days of conceptualizing this, still gathering all your feedback, still thinking about the best places to target first. So it's going to take time to build. We're going to build one feature and do it well at a time, and it's going to be driven by your feedback. But something's come through loud and clear that we are probably going to build in first, and that is notifications. And I'll talk about that a little bit further on. So the main goals for this app, and these first two really go together hand in hand, is communication and notification. Having that immediate ability, think iMessage, WhatsApp, SMS messages, being able to send messages to the members of your team, groups in your team immediately, and having them respond, know if they've seen it immediately. Not only notification to people, but notifications about your resources as well, about your aircraft. Where is this aircraft right now? Is this aircraft overdue? Is this aircraft due for a maintenance item? And so on. The whole goal of this, as we know in aviation, is so important, is to increase situational awareness of your company. Where is everyone and what's the health of everything in our company? And to improve your efficiency as well. We'll go into a bit more in detail with some example workflows later of how what some of the features might look like. But really it translates in the end is to more time for your instructors to be instructing, and that means more dollars in the bank in the end. So let's talk about communication and notifications first. The great thing about mobile devices now are the push notifications, the instant messages that we get pop up and vibrate our phone in our pocket all day, every day. But we look at them. They're immediate. They take your attention. Is this the end of email? No, it's not. Email has its place, but it's not real time. There's no guarantee that the people have got that email that you sent them. There's the email threads can get extremely messy over time. I always say that it's quickly becoming the fax of 2022, right? Push notifications are the way to go. We can send out notifications in real time of a change to an event, for example. So there's no more, I didn't see that. I didn't see that email, or I didn't know that changed. Students instead will be able to see that notification and respond to it with a confirm button. So everyone can be in the know that everyone's seen what's going on. And of course, that equates to, if you're missing flight slots, that equates to the aircraft not flying. An aircraft on the ground is costing money, which is not good. So this real-time chat is going to help enable much better and much faster, accurate communication between your team members. It's going to reduce the requirement for separate apps in your business, such as reliance on a system like Microsoft Teams or similar, which will help save money, hopefully, as well. And we will still be maintaining the other communication channels. Notifications will be able to be sent out via push notifications, via email notifications, and via web notifications, your little icon at the top right of your smart screen. What, when and where of the notifications, like what we send, when we send them and where we send them, that's going to be driven by the customer's feedback. And over time it'll become more unified and agnostic to what the notifications look like. So if you say notify people about an event, you'll be able to say, yeah, I want those sent via push and web. and out they go automatically. Now this feature I am incredibly excited about is scoped conversations. So if there's a flight coming up, for example, if you were able to just jump into a chat about that flight with the people, the stakeholders of that flight, the student, the pilot, maybe a supervising instructor, and just talk about that event, or perhaps a safety report. Start a chat about that, and it starts a little group chat with everyone involved in that safety report. I think that's going to be a really exciting, powerful feature. Everyone's on the run all the time, so getting everyone together at the same time can be difficult. Being able to start a chat about these things is going to keep people in the loop a lot more. So yeah, that's a bit of an overview on communication. Safety reporting is something else we're going to be looking at with the app. We're going to what I sort of thought of as the big red button, or the something happened button. Might actually be yellow, we don't know yet. We haven't quite finalised those changes. I've got to hit Sam up about that one. I mean, in my experience, the problem that we had is actually getting people to report in the first place, making sure they actually say something. So giving them something immediate that they can use to report an issue, just capture that initial information right here, right now, and then we can follow up later when it's appropriate to do so. But as you can see on the right of the screen there, if we capture if it's something that actually happened or something that might happen, the date, where it happened, who was involved, what it was, and a brief description, submit it, boom, it's in the system. If they're online, safety manager can get notified immediately. Otherwise, at least it's captured and in the system, and that's one of the biggest hurdles that I personally found in my time instructing. Potential downfalls of that, of course, is rubbish in, rubbish out, and potential duplication of issues. So we've got a lot of design considerations around these systems to think about before we start to roll it out. But again, we're going to be leveraging on your feedback heavily, what you like about it, what's working. We love to hear that because it lets us know that we are on the right track. We don't just want pats on the back with your feedback. It helps us to know that we are doing the job right, and we're going to need that a lot with this app as well. Maintenance issue reporting too. There have been some examples I've had in the past of where an issue happened. I can think of a specific one, I won't give details, but something happened with the plane. The person who was flying that plane got out of the plane. The next person booked in that plane, did a quick pre-flight, jumped in and went flying. Not good, because it took time for that person to get out the plane, go in, report, etc. So the idea is less holes in the Swiss cheese. By having this data captured and immediate and available to everyone, we're going to block that potential of things slipping through the cracks a lot more. And something else is awareness. Where is that aircraft right now? What's it doing? Who's in it? What's their ETA? What lesson are they doing? Staff summary. Where's that instructor? Have they clocked in or clocked out today? What are they booked in for? How much spare time do they have? When? We're going to provide that personal agenda. Sam touched on it before in his upcoming features. That will be available on the application as well. And also, we'd love to provide the ability for people to set custom reminders about upcoming bookings. Now, there's a lot of things that we want this app to be able to achieve, and the thought ran through our heads, do we build multiple apps, like an app scoped to a different part of an organization, like instructors or students or the safety side of things or maintenance? For starters, technologically, it's not necessary to do that these days. And secondly, everyone's role in an organization differs on every organization's unique structure. That's the difficult part that's one of the hardest parts I think I find about building software, is the fact that you're building something that works for 20 to 100 different schools who everyone does something slightly differently. So by building one app, we're just going to try and make it smart enough from the start to handle those job overlaps, and it'll be scoped like the website is to different permissions and jobs. So, going to give some examples of what the app's going to look like. We've got some key things that we want to focus on while building the app. We want it nice and clean, uncluttered, easy to read, because who knows what environment you might be in. Things like dark mode, like I can imagine being up on a night flight. Right, I don't want a bright smartphone light shining in my face, so being able to switch on dark mode, not losing my night vision would be lovely. We also want it responsive as well. Some cockpits, anyone still flying, Cessna 152s and stuff, gets pretty cramped on your lap there, so being able to turn your iPad sideways can make all the difference. So we want to make it work both ways. And also responsive means you're not clicking on something and having to wait 10 seconds for it to happen. We're going to keep it simple, and we're going to keep it focused to do some specific tasks well. So for starters, a student, they might have their agenda view open there. They can see a list of the events they've got on for the day. Maybe they could swipe left on one of those events. They could set reminders. They could look at the details of that event and further. They could look at the lesson plan that's attached to it, or they could start a group chat with the other students in that lesson and the instructor who's running it. They could sign in and sign out to classes. Attendance is one thing I personally hated doing as an instructor. At the end of the lesson, you just delivered a 4-hour lecture, you're knackered, you want to go to lunch and get a coffee. Now you've got to go on some clunky system and fill out the attendance who was there. Ideally with the agenda thing, students wouldn't even need to be able to see the whole schedule. The app would give them enough in their pocket to organise their day effectively. I've already mentioned those and the reminders. Another potential use case of the reminders there is like Sam was talking about aero clubs or more casually scheduled schools. We had a lot of casual pilots who would be like, oh man, is he coming in today? Oh, let's give him a call. Oh, he's not answering. Or like imagine if we be able to send out a reminder 4 hours before, confirm your booking, and they just tap confirm on that notification, and then everyone knows what's going on. Or if they say not confirmed, we can free up the aircraft for somebody else. Really boils down to less time chasing up students, chasing up people, and just getting everyone doing their job. As for an instructor, they can clock in and clock out from the mobile app. They won't have to sign into the website. If they're running in with their tie hanging over their shoulder and a coffee in one hand and they need to get out to the aircraft and go flying, they can just quickly tap in their clock in time and jump in the aircraft and get going. See what they've got on for the day, so they can mentally prepare for how many students they have to fly with on that day. Dispatch and return. Sometimes it gets so busy you're just out of one aircraft straight into another, not even time for a coffee in between, and being able to dispatch and return, at least starting the process. Again, we've got a lot to think about with this and how we integrate it, but at least being able to start the process and get that aircraft rolling over quickly is the goal. And if we need to, if it all falls through the cracks and the student's still not there, we can follow up with direct messaging about an event. And this one, I would have personally loved as well. I was pretty big on relevant debriefing and trying to actually provide some relevant data in a flight debrief. Quite often you're so busy that sometimes your debriefs slip hours later into the day, and you've actually got to sit there for a while and think, oh, what the heck happened on that flight? What were the specifics? You kind of lose that detail. You want to be able to capture that immediately, and by allowing instructors to grade as the lesson presents itself, at least capture some of it. They don't have to all the time, obviously. They've got to have eyes outside most of the time, but this will be able to give more accurate, more immediate debriefing and value to the student. And also free them up at the end of the day, allow for more instructor capacity so they can get on with their job and do more flying. So there was a couple of examples, student and instructor workflows. Some other points I want to make is, unlike a website, mobile applications can work without an internet connection. Now we know we all be out in the middle of the WAP somewhere, flying down a valley with no mobile reception and so on. You don't want the app to suddenly stop working in that case, or if you notice a wire hazard that wasn't there before, you won't be able to report it at the time. So what we can do is hold data inside the application until there's an internet connection, for example, a safety report, or perhaps the lesson grading, and then upload to the smart servers when they get back. Download certain data in the device, like the agenda. One excuse we had from some of our students is, I don't have mobile internet. I've ran out of data or something like that. I can only get on Wi-Fi. Well, that's great. Before they leave school, they can have the agenda for the next day on their device anyway. Another important point to make is that none of these features are going to be app only, except for the offline thing. Just a disclaimer there. None of these features are going to be app only. The chat, the notifications, all of that is part of the overall system architecture improvements and enhancements that we want to make over the coming months and coming years, which Sam touched on before. So in conclusion, we all know the way things are going, right? iPads, smartphones, everyone's got one. Cockpit technologies, the G1000s, G3000 touchscreens, right? It's all crazy. It's the way we're going, and it's the way we're going as well. Done well, technology can be an incredible thing, and it can be an incredible increase in safety and accuracy and awareness for people. So we're hoping to provide that. And look, we understand the web version is still our baby. It's still the thing that keeps you running every day, and that's still the thing that we are focusing on to improve and enhance every day. We're working really hard on that. But this, I think, is something that everyone can get pretty excited about. I know I am, and this is going to help to answer a lot of the requests that we've seen come through as well. So that's it. Thanks everyone, and I'll hand it back to Sam.
Great, thanks so much, Steph. That's yeah, we're so excited about the app. We've been excited about it for a long time. We know so many people have asked about it, and we really are like giddy school kids to get in and start developing this. We're super pumped. So we hope you are too, and yeah, we can't wait to start showing you that. So we just wanted to cover some questions. So those of you who would have seen the email, we put it out that you can send your questions in ahead of time, and so we've got a couple of questions here, and we just thought we'd cover those off. So the first question that we received, rather ironically, I swear it's not a planned, was about the iOS and Android app that Steph just mentioned, and how we see that being used in operations. I feel like we covered that.
I mean, I hope I've spoken to it enough. Yep, you can always come back and watch the recording again. But yeah, I think, look, the biggest thing here as well is we want your feedback and we want your ideas. We haven't talked about the Launchpad system yet much. Okay, so we do have a Launchpad system on the website, and your sidebar there, have a look at that. That's where you can submit new ideas to us, and it helps to keep it separate from the support system as well. It's a system where people can submit their ideas. They can be publicly voted on by other people in the industry, and that helps us prioritize. That helps us to prioritize what's important alongside the support system as well. So please use that and put in your ideas. We listen and look at every single one of them. Trust me. Yeah. So we want to hear what you've got to say. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more votes something gets, the more likely it is to be worked on it. And that's true. It's not just for show. There's been a number of things already requested in the Launchpad, and a number of those have been shipped and delivered. The next question that we've got here is around a unsynced version of the document library. So basically, from what I can take from that, it's like how your OneDrive or your Dropbox might work offline in your device's file manager. At the moment, that's not something that we're looking to support. It's quite a tricky thing to do. It's not to say that we won't look at it again in the future, but for the moment, it'll be a fair way down the track. It'll be quite a tricky thing to actually implement. But in the meantime, we hope that we can make the online version of the document library as easy and accessible as possible. And like we said before, we've got, there's 400 planned enhancements, and there's a number of those that relate to the document library itself. So, yeah. We've got a question here, probably put this one to you, Michaela. So, can we migrate from the old FSM to this new one online?
Yep. So you can migrate now. You can migrate, start your process, start getting set up. The process is, so we will migrate across most of your data from FSM to FOM, to our new smart system. So we can do that in the beginning just to get everything set up. There's a few things that you'll need to do, and I'll run you through that as well when you get up to there, and we can go over them, and I'll help you sort of get it set up and everything like that. But yeah, you can start coming across now. You're welcome to wait as well. It's really up to you. Then just let us know, and we can get the ball rolling on that.
Great, thanks, Michaela. There's this other question here about when the system's available for use. I'm not sure if Michaela or Nathan want to talk to that point there. We'll just make it a bit more obvious.
I don't understand what you're asking.
I'm not sure either, but I guess the system is available to you, so anybody who's wondering if it was in beta or there's no access to it, you can definitely get on board. So whether you're existing from version 2 or whether this is brand new to you and you're looking to get involved, regardless of that, version 3 is well and truly online and it's available. So just reach out to us, or if you have any questions, we can get someone from the team to reach out to you, but it's definitely not in beta. It's fully available now, and we can work with you to facilitate having a look and trying it out. We had another question come through there, probably for you, Ben, about the architecture of the system. So how's it maintained? Is it secure? Backups? Yeah, so maybe you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So the big thing around cloud technology is that it needs to be always available, and with that we chose to go for probably the industry leading provider for server infrastructure, being Amazon AWS. Everything is hosted within Australia, so we do have that. We do have that onshore data storage, which is important to a lot of people, especially government departments and even just everyday people who feel best that their data is kept onshore and not sent offshore to data centres overseas or even in places that they're not even sure of. Given that we're using Amazon's AWS, it does give us a lot of redundancy there. They host everything to do with the system, so the web servers, the database servers, and there is an incredible amount of backups and failovers and so on and so forth, so that there is always the availability of the website to be able to support you in your day-to-day. You're not going to have that downtime where if, say, with the old version 2, if your in-house server went down, well, that was it. There was no redundancy there. You just had to deal with it and work around it until it came back up. So we've thought about the importance of the system being available when you need it, and implemented a structure that means it is.
Great. Okay, so what we're going to do now is open it up to you. So if you've got any questions that you've been meaning to ask, or that things you'd really like to know, now's the chance to put those questions into the chat on Zoom. We've got the whole team here, so there shouldn't be a question that we shouldn't be able to answer. So yeah, start to put those through, and we'll start answering them as they come through. While we're waiting for those, is there anything anybody else wanted to touch on? Any other points? I
think probably just the fact that we're already supporting customers in Fiji and New Zealand, and we are anticipating launch into the US market probably later this year or early 2023. So anybody in those regions or with bases in those regions, we are on our way to you very, very soon.
We've got a couple of questions here that have come in already. We've got one from David, who he wants to know whether we've touched on the ability to add fuel mid-mission and have the fuel calculator add that based on the assumption that there has been multiple legs when returning the flight.
Yeah, I can probably answer that one. we do want to plan the dispatching system, the flight system in general, to handle multi-sector flights and multi-leg. We know that that's often how flights are conducted, and we do have that planned. We want to add more to the flight planning capacity of the system, and therefore the ability to record particulars about each leg, fuel per leg, and data like that. So it's very much planned, and we definitely do want to integrate that. Yeah.
And one from Adrian, he's asking, are there any planned upgrades and changes to the safety, risk and reporting system? So that might be a good one for Andrew to answer.
Yes, thanks for the question. It's a very good one. That's one of the first things that I started to do when I started 2 weeks ago. And Sam and I have gone through it already and made some adjustments to it as well. The big thing is that we need to make it as open as we can without putting too many obstacles in the way of getting reports in and things like that. And it's going to be very, very similar to what we have in version 2. The way that everything is in the one spot, you can pull things out very quickly, you can manage your safety meetings, all of your risk assessments will be in there as well, that type of stuff. So it is a work in progress, but we're right into it now. So thanks very much. Yes, we are working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And David's asking, when will we be able to look at future bookings in a way that makes a little bit more sense? At the moment, the flights page is a little bit clustered and isn't quite as clear as what it could be. So that probably would relate to the agenda. Maybe Sam would like to talk about that, or Steph.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's you two who had the idea for the agenda.
It was their
idea.
That's true. I
I
mean,
haven't put much thought into it myself. We've been a little bit busy.
yeah, so thanks, David. I hope the app, again, like having that agenda view, that personal agenda view of what's coming up, will help the individual, especially the individual, of what's going on in their day. As for an organisation, we absolutely have planned a screen that we're going to call the agenda screen, which is just going to consolidate everything on that day into a more like a run sheet of what's going on. So it's going to be an agenda view. I don't know how else to. If you go into Outlook and you select agenda view, you see a list of what you got coming up in the day, and it's just going to give you all that information in one place in a big list. Lots of information in there. So, David, if you've got any specific ideas, or anyone listening, if you've got any specific ideas for that, again, please let us know. We're brainstorming that right now. We've got some cool ideas, but again, it's about serving you guys. So, let us know.
We do also have planned, I'm not sure if this is the same vein, but we do have an upcoming aircraft booking report planned as well. So the ability, particularly for aircraft owners or those involved in things like syndicates, to be able to see into the future the aircraft's bookings at a glance as well. So that's also planned. I remember looking at it on the system just the other day.
And another one from David. He would love to be able to edit lessons before the dispatch. Currently we've got an issue with duplication where the flights double up. I suppose it falls into the realm of the schedule, and certainly that falls into Sam and Steph's ballpark. They're the brains behind the current version of the schedule. So perhaps you might want to touch on some of the planned improvements to the way lessons are booked and edited. I know we did touch on that earlier, but there were a few stragglers that came in halfway through.
Well, I think maybe Steph can talk about it in terms of what we're calling deep editing. And it's definitely not an easy thing to achieve, and it's going to take some time, but maybe, Steph, you could talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think one thing we wanted to really avoid with version 3 is having data that just suddenly gets orphaned and lost. If you delete or detach a flight, it's suddenly out there floating in the middle of nowhere. Everything's to be able to report on it and to be able to provide meaningful, accurate data and give compliance. Everything needs to be linked and talk to each other. So maintaining that linking integrity while you're allowing people at data at the last minute to go in and change an entire lesson is technically very hard. I mean, but that's not what you need to hear. The thing that you need to hear is like, yes, that is something we are actively working on. We've got a list of scheduler enhancements that we're hoping to get out. I don't know, what would you say, Sam, in the next 2 weeks within
Yes.
the next couple of weeks, and it's going to help with that exactly that sort of thing, David. So one of the other things that's come up, which I think I should mention, is like being able to pull one of the events out of the lesson flow. So like when you've got a pre-flight, a flight, and a debrief, being able to go, actually we've already done the pre-flight, let's pull that out, and I just want to do the flight and the debrief. So yeah, we're working on all that right now. So it should be sooner rather than later. Yep.
Yeah, there's the schedule has so many things coming to it that we think are just going to be amazing. We're bringing in the ability long term, so you can't hold me to this on a timeline, but they're very much planned, and they will come in at some point. But just to sort of tease some of the things that we've got tabled is to pre-flight or pre-dispatch check all your dispatches for the day. So at the start of the day, the system will run through, look at all the dispatches and tell you all the potential problems that you might have. So rather than waiting till 10 a.m. to hit dispatch and go, oh, we've got to fix maintenance, or this person needs to address an expiry or something like that, straight away, first thing in the day, you can get proactively in front of it and see these are all the things we've got to fix so today can get away on time. We're also working on some bulk sort of manipulations of the day's events. So as it can happen, the day might just turn on you if the weather goes bad, or unplanned maintenance happens, things like that, and you need to quickly bump the whole day to the next day. So the ability to move the entire day either forward or reschedule rather than have to go booking by booking by booking. We know that some organisations might have, just so many bookings, like 50 plus bookings on a day with all the little bits and bobs connected, and rescheduling that by hand would just be a nightmare, I'd imagine. So we're bringing in features like that. Another one that's been heavily requested and asked for is the ability to just drag the student's next lesson onto the schedule. So not have to try and figure out what's next and have to go through all that, but just look at the student, look at their next lesson, drag it onto the schedule, bang, choose your aircraft, choose your your aircraft and your instructor, and on you go. So yeah, there's a lot coming to the schedule as well. So it's going to be really good. I'd love to talk about everything that we've got planned.
And we'd love to do it all now. Like,
yeah,
it's so hard because we want to deliver all this stuff too. Like this is all cool stuff that we'd love to have. But we've just got to keep focused and keep
exactly.
typing and keep coding and listen to you guys. Yeah.
And that's where the feedback matters, because if sometimes we might get really excited about that. We might go, oh, this is really great. We want to build this, but you might be thinking, no, we really want this other thing. Please build that thing first. So that's where we really rely on the feedback, and we love the feedback, and keep sending it through because that's what will drive what happens next. The more something, it's the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So the more you ask for something and the more something gets requested, that's what gets built next. So
I think that's where the Launchpad really comes in,
Yeah.
doesn't it, Sam? Because that's something we used to get a little bit of criticism over with version 2, with FSM. We'd have some organisations that were quite frequently requesting customizations or additional features, and other organisations would say, hey, how come our idea didn't sort of get picked up next? And there wasn't really any transparency around how that system worked, and I'll tell you now exactly how it worked. A school would ask for a particular change or a particular addition, and I'd reach out to a small, a medium and a large school and ask kind of how impactful that particular change would be to their organisation. And when we had a particular change, particularly that was going to be made, we'd need to ascertain whether it was going to adversely affect anybody else's operation, because anything that we include or any changes we make really have to be for the better good of the majority of the organisation. So I'd have to make a determination as to whether or not it was going to have any adverse effect on anybody else. And then once we determined that it wasn't, we had to work out, does this particular addition value add to the majority of schools? Remembering that we've got from very, very small single-man ag operators right through to some of the largest universities in Australia and the Air Force using this program. We've got to really remain mindful that it is kind of a one-size-fits-all to some extent, and we've got to make sure that we are, developing to the greatest benefit of the group of users. And so the idea of Launchpad was to provide some real crystal clear transparency around the process of, how do we actually, get our great idea recognised and built into the system. And so the team decided, well, let's have a Launchpad concept. And if you're not already on Launchpad, I strongly recommend you get behind it. Jump into your profile and scroll down the page there in the profile and sign up for beta if you want to get amongst all the latest releases, and get onto Launchpad if you'd like the ability to actually start to put some of your ideas forward. And so with that Launchpad, it gives the ability to peer review other people's ideas, and the more votes that we get for a particular request, obviously the sooner it gets developed, so it moves up the list. And what Ben didn't kind of really mention at the beginning, I don't think, was in that development process, it's essentially a daily triage. So the whole team meet every single morning, and they basically discuss what they've currently got on the radar. So any bugs that we've got that have come in the last 24 hours, any glitches that we've really got to take care of today, and then we have a look at what's on their production cycle for today, so what they're already planning to do. And if anybody's got 5 minutes in their day, or they simply need a break from the task that's currently at hand, that's where they can have a look there and see what we've got on that Launchpad, and make a start on the next most highly ranking idea that's there. So Sam can quickly show you there what's sort of on the Launchpad already. We've got some fantastic ideas, and look, I'm not backward in coming forward about the fact that Smart has always been a product of the industry. So FSM was and is today, 10 years down the track, what it is, only because of the feedback that we're constantly getting from the industry. And that is just incredibly important that, that continues to flow. We can only make this better with your investment, with your ideas. And frankly, this is why we firmly believe that we will remain an industry leader in this space, because we're actually building to your spec sheet. This is your application for our industry, and we're growing it every single day to meet and exceed the expectations of our industry. So it's not our ideas here that count, it's your ideas. And when we're out on the field and we're popping in to see you, Michaela's just come back from Melbourne. We're both recently back from Sydney. When we're walking into your schools and sort of saying, hey guys, what do you love about the application and what can we do better? That's your opportunity. Don't talk to the water cooler. The water cooler can't help. Get in and talk to us, feedback, and say, hey, look, I really love the way this works. And that gives us an opportunity to make more stuff work the same way. Or, hey, it'd be great if we could. And that's where we'll probably say, yeah, absolutely. Pop it up onto Launchpad and get your staff and the other schools on your airport behind the idea. And that way we can continue to improve. And you'll see, your ideas actually coming to fruition. So, thanks.
Yeah, great.
There's a few questions that have come in since we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but
the next one was the fuel.
yeah.
David was just asking about the fuel. He just so there was a couple of that's actually on our list of things that I spoke to you about, Sam, for the planned fuel to just be automatically calculated when they're returning flights, rather than having to work it out. So just times by the rate for the aircraft by the estimated amount of time for the flight.
Sure, yeah. So by the sounds of it, we've already got that one covered off, David.
Yeah, that was already there, David. Reach out, David. I can walk you through where to find that one, even or Michaela. But at a flight return point, you have got that planned burn already pre-populating now. And if you're not seeing that, David, just reach out direct and we can walk you through it.
Paul's asking, any plans to be able to group ground school lessons to form a session similar to the flight lesson events? I guess I'll open that one up probably to Sam. He's the king of the LMS.
I don't know about that. Not at this stage. I'd probably be interested to hear a bit more about it, Paul. I feel like I've heard or seen some things about that in the past potentially. Yeah, not at this stage. It's hard to talk about that a bit more without understanding exactly the needs that you're looking at there. I would imagine it's something like, let's say you had a CPL human factors ground school for that week and it was sort of day 1, day 2 and so forth, if I'm sort of picking up what is happening there. There's not sort of current plans to build it. We just build a day 1 lesson, a day 2 lesson and schedule it out as that. But I'd definitely be interested to hear more about it and see more about it, and then I could, we could take it up as a team and see how to best manage it from there.
We've got one from Adrian asking, as a matter of curiosity, how many organisations are actively using version 3 in Australia? That's
On
probably
version 3,
Yeah.
well, we can sort of see that from the back end. I looked at it last night. I think currently there's 67 organisations enrolled on version 3, and a
that's
little
not just
over
Australia either.
that's and a little over 6,000 users, which is fantastic already. I mean, given that I think that's less than it's certainly less than a fifth of our version 2 users migrated so far. So the vast majority of the version 3 users are actually new users. We're very keen to see a lot more of our version 2 customers coming across, but quite a solid start given that we're really only 12 months in.
And a good benefit to getting involved now is the earlier you get in, the higher chance you're going to have that the features and things you're requesting will get built, because naturally over time as things mature and things stabilise, it becomes harder and harder to tweak and adjust. So if you've got great ideas now, you've always thought, I've always wanted that in Smart, then now's a great time to get involved, because you'll have a much higher chance of your request being delivered. I mean, there's been times so far already where we've turned things around in an hour. If they're simple and quick enough and we've got the capacity, we've been able to add things in same day. Many times we add things in same day as the requests come through. That can't always happen, but it's an advantage to being an early adopter of the system as well, is that you'll probably see your ideas come to life.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of items there from David and Holland asking about, I guess, changes and a mention of a glitch there as well. I think with regard to those, if we can move those into a support ticket, that's the best way to handle them. We did touch on towards the start of the meeting about the process that everything goes through once it comes through as a support ticket and the ideas and such. So if you can submit those through as a support ticket, that'd be great. It certainly helps us to address them better. David is asking about something that we touched on as well early in the piece, and I know David did come in partway through. Can the start and finish waypoints be default 99% of the time? They are the same. So yeah, we did touch on that towards the start. That is something we're looking to do, because we do realise that in a lot of training situations it is going to be the same waypoint that's the start and the finish. So it is on the to-do list for the new schedule. Paul's asking, any thoughts about adding planned route to flight lessons, especially navs, so as not to have to enter them at the return?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah,
Great idea.
Exactly.
Perfect handbrake from launch pad.
Yeah, as Sam said, we're going to be looking at improving the flight planning capabilities and adding legs to a flight. So I mean, why not make them pre fill out? Like, why not? Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, because your navs are often you fly the same route. So yeah, that's good. Chuck it on the launch pad.
Exactly.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the bottom of the chat there. So if anyone else has got any more questions, certainly jump in now. We'll jump straight onto them.
Great. Yeah. Any other thoughts from the room, or anything else anyone wanted to mention while we're going? No, it's okay. We won't sit here and hold everyone up. If there's no need for that, we'll give it a couple more minutes and see if there's any other questions, and then we'll take it from there. I think you can see that we're all very passionate about this platform. We love it. Most of us have an aviation background ourselves, so we want to build the kinds of tools that we would like ourselves, and hopefully the kinds of tools that you would like too. So, yeah, we love what we do. We're very passionate about it, and we just wish we could code faster and we could make these things faster, because, yeah, it's exciting for us, and yeah, we'd love to have it all just magically there tomorrow if we could.
Yeah, so I think that is something that's really important that the customers do appreciate as well, is that often we do sort of hear, this isn't in version 3 yet, it was in version 2. Version 2 itself came out 2014. Version 1 was 2012 to 2014. Version 2 came out 2014. So just that alone, I mean, that's 8 years of development that's gone into version 2. We're only 2 years in now. This application is way bigger than version 3, so Smart is way bigger than version 2 was. Yes, there are a few little things that aren't here yet, like a few of the reports, for example. They certainly will be in time, but the focus has been on actually getting the new functionality into the system, getting people using the system, and now we're going back and basically doing now we're on a third pass where we're trying to get, we described it on parity with version 2, so anything you had in version 2 should now be becoming available in Smart over the next few months. But already this application is much larger than version 2 was, and far more capable and far more user customizable than version 2. So just bear in mind that we're only really 2 years into this process. You can imagine where this is going to be in another 6 years when we are 8 years in. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible, and the progress that the guys are making already on the system, and then this companion app. This is really going to just take it to the next level. So if you do have things that you're finding, might just take this opportunity as well to just really clarify the different places to put things, I guess, to communicate with the team, because we're going to be able to get back to you and really help you a lot more easily if you're feeding back through the right channels. So I did introduce everybody at the beginning, but support, so if you're a version 2 customer and you wanted to come across to version 3, it's best to reach out to Michaela. So she's in charge of that migration and that transition and onboarding for our existing customers, and Michaela and Ben work very closely in that process. If you're a new customer and you're looking at the platform for the first time, or you've got other specific training requirements, Michaela or Andrew are your points of contact for that one. New ideas through the Launchpad. Please don't pop new ideas through the tickets, the trouble tickets or the support center. That just sort of bogs down the whole system there. Really, we do need to keep that fairly clean and sterile for literally genuine support issues. And when you are popping those in, we do really respectfully ask that you do consider the impact that particular glitch you might have found is actually having on the system. It's very easy for us all to go, oh, well, it's really annoying me right now, so it's a code red, it's a massive bug. Whereas in fact, that can really take time in the triaging process for Ben to actually sort of work through and go, oh, it looks like a one-off, or it's actually not a huge bug. It looks like it might just be a data error issue. So if you can just try to, I guess, best determine for yourself, is it actually a show-stopping bug? Is the program still usable? Or is it something that literally has sort of ground us to a halt, and then kind of pop it in with the appropriate level of prioritization, and that really makes sure that the guys can maximize their productivity on actually developing and bug fixing. They don't get too caught up in sort of forwards and backwards. And of course, the more information you can give us when you pop a support ticket in as well, the better. That really does reduce our support time. I can see here at the moment the support tickets are currently sitting average support time of 16 minutes. That's really impressive. For a team of this size, to be responding to support tickets in under 20 minutes is really impressive. We want to keep it that way, but to be able to keep those response times down, we do need to minimize the amount of backwards and forwardsing that we're having to do with customers. So the more information you can give us when you pop those tickets in with screenshots, and I clicked on this, then I clicked on that, and then that happened, it makes it much quicker for the guys to replicate the problem and to actually get straight to the root cause and get a fix in place for you.
Yeah, I might just extend with that. When you're talking about the information that you submit with a support ticket, certainly steps to reproduce. So step 1, do this, then step 2, click on this, and if there is a specific event or flight that it is affecting, the flight number or the event date and time and the name is a fantastic detail to give us, because the quicker that we can reproduce it, the quicker that we can fix it and narrow down the cause as well. So if you can provide those steps to reproduce, like give it to us like we don't know anything about the system, and really dumb it down for us, it really makes things a lot easier to track down. David's asking about multiple pictures in the support. It's something that we would love to do. Unfortunately, it is a limitation of the AWS infrastructure, would you believe? So it's a matter of waiting for them to support the multiple uploads in one go, and once they allow that, then we can integrate that as well. But certainly it would be great to have 3 pictures uploaded at once to show everything rather than 3 different replies down the screen each for the photo.
We'll be working on that multiple thing as soon as we can. But
Yeah.
as Ben said, there's some limitations on third parties there that we're just hamstrung by. But as soon as we can find a way around that or find some creative solutions, we want to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Paul's just said at the moment, you just got to have the separate replies, and as Sam said, we've just got to got our hands tied by other parties. So.
Yeah, and with that limit on the uploads, another way of doing it, I know it is a little bit more intensive for the actual user, but what you can do is, of course, take a bunch of screen grabs and drop them all into one Word document or one PDF and upload it as a single file as well. That's another way of getting us multiple screenshots in one hit, and again, that really does expedite the process for the guys on the stand.
Yeah, we did integrate the ability to upload other file types other than images recently as well, so PDFs being one of them. The PDF idea is a great idea.
Even a short video, I think we've seen a few of those come through too. Some
Yeah.
people have done a short screen record of what's going on. I mean, a picture says 1,000 words, so if you can do a 5-second video of what's happening for you, I mean, that's perfect. Yeah.
David said seeing all tickets raised would help like a knowledge base or a knowledge centre.
I think that's what our fax area is going to become, isn't it? Sort of like the most commonly.
Yeah, we've got a bit of an FAQ sort of thing going. We've got the documentation as well, of course, and we do have non-specific items in there, such as the deep dive page, which is more general hints and tips. But I don't know that seeing all tickets raised is probably something that we'd be looking to do. It certainly has a privacy concern around it, and
We do find probably, what would you say, maybe 2/3 of the tickets that come in are normally training sort of issues,
Yeah,
just
that's
usability
exactly right.
issues.
I don't think there'd be a lot of value in adding that just based on what we've seen so far.
That's why we have things like documentation and.
That's it. I mean, as things come up and we see it coming up more and more, we add it to the documentation to hopefully address these things before they become a support ticket. But I don't think seeing everyone else's support tickets is really going to add any value at all.
Sometimes as well, if you've got multiple points of feedback around a given system, we sometimes see people submit through in rapid fire. Within 5 minutes, they might put through, say, 5 tickets about an area. It's a good idea if you're kind of investigating something and you're starting to come up with lots of feedback and questions, just put those together in like a Word document or something like that and park them up. And when you're happy and you go, yep, these are all the things I want to raise, put them through in one ticket. It just makes life a lot easier for us to try and track and manage. And that way we're not sort of, as a conversation develops around a given area, we're not having to sort of dive in and out of all these tickets and respond here and respond there. It's just nice and neat for both of us to be able to do it in one ticket too.
And
Yeah.
David's just clarified his question there regarding seeing the tickets. He means that he wants to be able to see the tickets raised by his staff, for example.
We are looking at some changes
Yeah,
to the support system soon. Yeah.
Yeah, particularly if we could have like a company-wide ticket centre, because it's always been something that I've kind of pushed, even from version 1, is like single point of contact within an organisation. It is, I can see you don't want everything to go through you there, David, and I can understand why, but having a single point of contact for each organisation obviously makes it a lot easier for us. I mean, we do have customers in different time zones as well, and some of the organisations have got 30 or 40 staff. What we can't really have choose up a lot of time is if we end up with 5 people from the same organisation reporting the same problem. That really does kind of have the guys spinning their wheels in the mud a little bit. So having a single point of contact for each organisation is actually quite helpful for us, because that way one person in the org can keep a bit of an eye on what's going on, and it also means that we've got one person we can always communicate back with. So I do get being able to see all the tickets raised by your org would really help. I agree, because it might stop multiple people putting in the same ticket, but a single point of contact is also really, really great from our end.
That's where long term, Stefan touched on things like scoped conversations. So that's where your organisation in the future could have a scoped support conversation with us. So that way all the people in the organisation who need to know about an issue that's being worked on or a request that's come up are all in the loop, and there's no need to have this kind of one-to-one thing. So we do have some things planned in that area, yeah.
Paul's mentioned that an update to the permissions documentation, what functions relate to each permissions. Yeah, that's a good point, Paul. We've probably been a bit slack on that regard. It's been a bit out of sight, out of mind as we go through and add new functions and improvements to the system. The extra permissions get introduced and probably get a little bit forgotten sometimes, but we do have it flagged as something that we do need to update, and pretty soon as well.
Yeah, if you've got specific feedback there, again, I think that's a good candidate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for a support ticket in the category of feedback and questions, rather than a launchpad, and then give us some nice specific details on areas that are unclear for you currently, and yeah,
and that goes for
we can target it.
Not just Paul, but everyone. If there is something that doesn't seem clear enough in the documentation, by all means put a support ticket in and let us know so we can improve it. If so easy for us to write about it as the people who make what you see in front of you, but when we're talking about the people on the other end who are using this day in, day out, and don't really know the ins and outs of how everything relates to everything else, it's really hard to put ourselves in your shoes. So definitely let us know if there is something we need to improve on.
We'll be looking next year as well to add some support videos, so how to use the system and things like that as well. But they take time to build, and at the moment they haven't been really requested that much. But next year we want to look at making a couple of how-to videos to make life a lot easier, and you can share that to your staff and your organisation to make internal training a lot easier as well. So
it's actually been quite funny that it's been.
Yes.
I mean, this is something that we quite often sort of laugh about internally. When we made version 1 and 2, we actually didn't have any documentation. It was all videos, and we actually sort of ran a simulation. When you clicked help, it brought you into a simulation of the application, and each function or feature, as you clicked on it, would then take you through a voiced over demonstration of how to actually use that particular component of the application. And the customers were constantly asking, how come you haven't got any documentation? And it's because we had all these videos, and now we've got the documentation, everyone's asking for videos again. So we're not really quite sure where to put the focus.
One day we'll have both.
It's all time.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, look, I think we might look to wrap things up there. If you've got any more follow-up questions, if you'd like to get in touch with Michaela or Andrew, either reach out in the chat or get in touch with us through the website.
And yeah, if you are watching this on a recording at a later date, we encourage you to still send through any questions or queries you've got. Probably the best place to pop them through to would be to support at smartaviation.net. Or raise a ticket if you like, but if you've got numerous inquiries, it'd be great to pop them all into a single ticket rather than raising an individual ticket for each one. But I do want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon, for your time. I appreciate everyone's time is incredibly valuable, particularly at the moment as we're all trying to get back on our feet post our COVID lockdowns. So yeah, thank you very, very much. Please encourage your staff to reach out if they've got any great ideas as well onto that launch pad. Remember that the water cooler isn't going to help with rectifying any issues you've found, and it's certainly not going to help with getting any of your great ideas into this platform. So thank you all again for all of your support, and we wish you all the very, very best.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.